I want to talk with you about something I know quite well. This person who won't leave your head. The one who appears in your thoughts uninvited at the strangest times. When you're trying to sleep, when you're in the shower, when you're supposed to be working on something else entirely. There they are again. Maybe it's someone you loved who's gone now. Maybe it's someone who hurt you. Maybe it's a parent, a friend who betrayed you, someone you can't seem to forgive, or perhaps someone you're a little bit infatuated with. It doesn't really matter who they are. What matters is that they've taken up residence in your mind, and you can't seem to evict them no matter how hard you try. My grandchildren have this expression. They say someone is living rent-free in your head. I rather like that. It's accurate, isn't it? This person isn't paying for the space they're occupying. They might not even know they're there, and yet there they are, day after day, taking up so much room. I understand this feeling more than I can say. Even now, at 80 years old, I sometimes find myself thinking about people from long ago. Conversations that ended badly, moments I wish I could redo, loves that slipped away like water through my fingers. There was a woman, you see. This was many years before I became a monk. I must have been in my early 30s. I loved her quite completely, in that way you love when you're young and think love alone is enough. But she didn't love me back. Not in that way. She was kind about it, gentle even. But the answer was no, and she moved on with her life, as people do. But I didn't move on. Not for a long time. I kept her alive in my mind, you see. I replayed our conversations over and over, imagining what I should have said differently. I invented new conversations we'd never have. I pictured different endings where she changed her mind, where she suddenly understood, where everything worked out the way I wanted it to. I must have lived 1,000 different versions of our story in my head, and in not one of them was I actually living my real life. It nearly consumed me, if I'm honest. The phantom conversations, the arguments I'd win in my mind but never in reality, the explaining, the defending, the hoping. All of it happening in a place that only I could see. So if that's why you're here tonight, if there's someone you can't stop thinking about, if you're exhausted from the thoughts that won't stop coming, I understand. I truly do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with you. This is a very human thing, this haunting we do to ourselves. The strange part is, we become almost addicted to it, don't we? These thoughts hurt us, and yet we can't seem to stop returning to them, like pressing on a bruise to see if it still hurts. It always does, and yet we press again. You have these conversations with them that they'll never hear. You explain yourself, you defend yourself, you say all the things you didn't get to say. Or maybe you replay the good times, the moments when everything was perfect, and you wonder how it all fell apart. Or you imagine scenarios that will never happen, them coming back, them apologizing, them finally understanding. And all the while, they're out there living their life, probably not thinking about you at all, while you're trapped in this endless loop with a version of them that exists only in your mind. I know how tiring this is, dear one, how it steals your peace, how it keeps you from being fully present in your actual life, with the people who are actually here. So let's talk about this together. Let's look at what's really happening and what might help. Not a quick fix. I don't believe in those. But perhaps a gentler way to carry this weight you've been carrying alone. You're not crazy for struggling with this. You're just human. And you're not alone in it either. I'm here with you now, an old man who knows this particular suffering rather well, and I have some things to share that might help if you're willing to listen. Now let me share something that took me many years to understand, something one of my teachers told me when I was still struggling with that woman in my mind, still replaying our story every night before sleep. He said to me, very gently, "The person you're thinking about, she's not actually there, you know." I was rather offended at first, I'll admit. Of course she was real. I'd loved her. We'd had conversations, shared moments, all of it was real. What was he talking about? But he smiled at me with such kindness and said, "Yes, she's a real person living her real life somewhere. But the one in your head, the one you're talking to at 3 in the morning, that's not her. That's a ghost you've made, and you're feeding it every day." This is what the Zen teachers call attachment to mental formations. We take our thoughts and we mistake them for reality. We build entire worlds in our minds, and then we suffer in those worlds as if they're actually real. The person in your head, whoever they are for you, they're not the actual person anymore. They're a story, a version you've created from memories, from imagination, from all the things you wish you'd said or they'd said or that had happened differently. You've taken pieces of the real person and you've built something else entirely, a ghost, and then you spend your days and nights with this ghost, talking to it, arguing with it, explaining yourself to it, longing for it. And here's the thing, my friend. The real person isn't hearing any of this. They're out there living their life, but you're trapped in a conversation with someone who exists only in your mind. I remember when this finally started to make sense to me. I was sitting in meditation one morning, and there she was again in my thoughts, and I suddenly saw it so clearly. I wasn't actually thinking about her. I was thinking about my story of her, my version, the one where if I'd just said this or done that, everything would have been different. The one where she realized she'd made a mistake. The one where I got to explain myself one more time. None of it was real. It was all just thoughts, stories I was telling myself over and over, like a broken record that wouldn't stop playing. Now, you might be wondering why we do this, why we torture ourselves this way, and here's where I want to be very tender with you, because this is important. You're not doing this because you're broken. You're not doing it because you're weak or foolish or can't let go. You're doing it because you're human and because something feels unfinished. The mind, you see, it doesn't like loose ends. It wants resolution. It wants closure. It wants things to make sense, to be fair, to be resolved properly. And when something ends badly, or suddenly, or without explanation, or in a way that feels unjust, the mind keeps working on it, like a tongue that returns to a sore tooth over and over. It's trying to fix something. It's trying to make sense of something. It's trying to finish something that feels desperately unfinished. So it keeps replaying the scene, imagining different endings, creating conversations that might finally bring the peace you're looking for. It's not trying to hurt you. It's actually trying to help you. It just doesn't know that this particular kind of help doesn't help at all. This is what the teachers call the mind's habit of grasping. We grasp at thoughts, at memories, at people who are no longer in our lives because we think that if we can just understand it, just resolve it, just get it right in our minds, then we'll finally feel okay. But it doesn't work that way, does it? All that happens is we exhaust ourselves with thinking. We live more in the past or in imaginary futures than we do in our actual present life. I spent years like this. Years. Feeding the ghost, having conversations that would never happen, replaying moments that were long gone, imagining scenarios that would never come to be. And the whole time my real life was happening without me fully in it. So if this is where you are right now, I want you to know, I understand why. It makes perfect sense. Your mind is doing exactly what minds do. And you're not wrong or broken for struggling with this. But there is another way, a gentler way. And that's what I want to share with you next. Let me tell you what those years were like for me. The years I spent feeding the ghost. I would wake up and she'd be my first thought. Before I even opened my eyes fully, there she was. I'd lie there and replay our last conversation, the one where she told me no. I'd imagine what I should have said instead. Maybe if I'd been calmer, more eloquent, more convincing. Maybe if I'd explained myself better. And so I'd have that conversation again in my mind, but this time I'd say all the right things, and this time she'd understand. Of course, none of this was real. She wasn't there. She was living her life somewhere, probably not thinking about me at all. But I was trapped in this endless loop with a version of her that existed only in my head. During the day, I'd be doing something else entirely, working, talking with friends, trying to live, and suddenly there she'd be again. A memory would surface. Something would remind me of her, and I'd be pulled right back into it. The wondering, the imagining, the replaying. It was exhausting, my friend, truly exhausting. At night was the worst. I'd lie in bed and create entire scenarios. Maybe she'd realize she'd made a mistake. Maybe she'd come back. Maybe I'd run into her somewhere and I'd be different somehow, better, and she'd see what she'd missed. I must have lived 100 different futures in my mind, and in every single one of them, I was waiting for something that was never going to happen. I tried everything to make it stop. I really did. I tried to push the thoughts away, to force myself not to think about her. Do you know what happens when you try very hard not to think about something? You think about it even more. It's rather funny, actually, how the mind works that way. Tell yourself, don't think about elephants, and suddenly that's all you can think about. I tried to be angry with myself. I'd scold myself, why are you still thinking about this? Move on. This is pathetic. But that just made it worse. Now I was not only obsessing about her, I was also making myself feel terrible for obsessing about her. Double the suffering, if you will. I tried to convince myself I didn't care anymore. I'd tell myself she meant nothing to me, that I was over it, that I'd forgotten all about her. But the very effort of telling myself I didn't care was proof that I did. You don't have to convince yourself you don't care about things you actually don't care about. I tried to replace her with someone else, to find a new person to think about. But that didn't work either. She was still there, a constant presence in the background of my mind. And here's what I want you to understand, dear one. None of this meant I was weak. None of it meant I was broken or pathetic or unable to let go. It meant that something had mattered to me. It meant I'd cared deeply about someone, and when it ended, my heart didn't know how to make sense of it. That's all it was. A heart trying to resolve something that felt desperately unfinished. If you're in this place right now, if there's someone you can't stop thinking about no matter how hard you try, I want you to know that I understand exactly what this feels like. The exhaustion of it, the way it steals your peace, the way you feel almost addicted to thoughts that hurt you. Maybe it's someone who hurt you, and you keep replaying what they did, imagining confrontations where you finally tell them exactly how much they hurt you. Maybe it's someone you loved who's gone, and you keep them alive in your mind because letting go feels like losing them all over again. Maybe it's someone you want but can't have, and you create entire relationships in your imagination that will never exist in reality. Whatever your version of this is, I want you to know you're not wrong for feeling this way. You're not failing at something, you're just human, and you're carrying something heavy, and you haven't yet learned how to set it down gently. The anger, the longing, the grief, the obsessive replaying, I've felt all of it. And I want to tell you that it's okay. It's okay that this is hard. It's okay that you haven't figured out how to stop yet. It's okay that someone still has this much space in your mind and heart. But I also want to tell you that there is a way through this. Not around it, not over it, through it. And it's gentler than anything I tried in those years of fighting with my own mind. That's what I want to share with you now. So here's what finally helped me, and I have to warn you, it's almost embarrassingly simple. When I first learned it, I thought, that's it, that can't possibly work. But it did, slowly, gently, like ice melting in spring. The practice is this: when the person appears in your thoughts, and they will appear over and over, you don't fight it and you don't feed it. You just notice. You say to yourself very gently, "Ah, there you are again." That's it. Just a gentle acknowledgement, like greeting an old habit that's come to visit. No drama, no struggle, just, "Oh, hello, I see you." And then, and this is the important part, you come back. You come back to what's actually here. Your breath, the room you're sitting in, the sounds around you, your actual life happening right now, in this moment. Not as a rejection of the thought, not as a way of pushing them away or telling yourself you shouldn't be thinking about them, but as a gentle return home. Like you've been wandering in your mind, and now you're coming back to where you actually are. And then, a few minutes later or a few hours later, they'll appear again. The thought will come back, and you do the same thing. Ah, there you are again. And you gently return to your breath, to this moment, to what's actually real, over and over, 10 times, 100 times, 10,000 times, if that's what it takes. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I've tried to stop thinking about them. It doesn't work. And you're right, this isn't about stopping the thoughts. That's what makes this different from all the forcing and fighting I tried for so many years. You're not trying to make the thoughts go away. You're not trying to win a battle with your own mind. You're just practicing, very gently, the art of coming back. Coming back to where you actually are. Coming back to your real life. The mind, you see, is like a storytelling machine that never sleeps. It's always writing dramas, creating scenarios, spinning tales. That's just what minds do. You have about 60,000 thoughts a day, they say. Most of them you don't even notice, but some of them, the ones about that person, those ones grab you and won't let go. This practice isn't about stopping the machine. It's about not getting quite so caught up in the stories it's telling. It's about remembering that you don't have to climb aboard every thought train that pulls into the station. When I first started practicing this, I must have come back to my breath 1,000 times in a single sitting. She'd appear in my mind and I'd think, "Oh no, not again." And then I'd remember, "Oh right, just notice, just return." So I'd take a breath, feel the air moving in and out of my body, and for a moment I'd be here in my actual life, not in the story. And then 2 minutes later, there she'd be again. And I'd do it again. Notice, return, notice, return, like waves on a shore, endlessly coming back. It felt futile at first, I'll be honest with you, like trying to bail out a boat with a teaspoon. But slowly, and I mean very slowly, over weeks and months, something started to shift. The thoughts still came, but they didn't grab me quite as hard. There was a little space between the thought appearing and me diving into the whole story, just a tiny bit of space. But that space, dear one, that space is freedom. Here's what I want you to understand. This isn't about not caring. It's not about forcing yourself to forget someone who mattered to you. If you loved them, that love was real. If they hurt you, that pain was real. This practice doesn't make any of that go away or pretend it didn't matter. What it does is loosen the grip a little. It creates some space between you and the obsessive thinking. It helps you remember that you have a life to live right now, not just in your memories or in imagined futures that will never come. You're not trying to evict them from your mind forever. You're just practicing the gentle art of not letting them run the whole show, of coming back to yourself, of coming home. And you can do this, my friend, right now even. Feel your breath. Notice where you are. This is your actual life happening right now, and you can come back to it again and again, as many times as you need to. It's a practice of great kindness, really. Kindness to yourself, because you deserve to live in your actual life, not trapped in a story that's already over or a future that will never arrive. I want to tell you something, and I need you to really hear this. Whoever this person is, whatever hold they have on you right now, it won't always be this strong. I know it feels enormous. I know it feels like they'll be in your head forever, like you'll never be free of this weight you're carrying. But that's not true. Time and practice really do help. I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in so many others who've walked this path. The woman I told you about, the one who lived in my mind for what felt like lifetimes. I still think of her sometimes, even now, but it's different now, softer. When she appears in my thoughts, there's no grip anymore, no desperation, just a quiet memory of someone I once loved. It's rather peaceful, actually. This didn't happen overnight. I won't pretend it did. It took months of practice, years, really, of noticing and returning, noticing and returning. Some days were easier than others. Some days I'd think I'd finally moved on, and then something would remind me of her, and I'd be right back in it again. But slowly, so slowly I almost didn't notice it happening. The grip loosened. The thoughts came less often. And when they did come, they didn't pull me in quite as deep. There was space around them. I could see them as thoughts, just thoughts, not truth, not reality. Just the mind doing what minds do. And you'll get there too, dear one. Not because you're trying so hard or doing everything perfectly, but because you're willing to practice, because you're willing to keep coming back again and again to where you actually are. This is what the Buddha meant when he talked about the middle way, not forcing, not clinging, not trying to make the thoughts go away, but also not drowning in them. Just this gentle returning, this patient practice of coming home to yourself. I know you might be tired of thinking about this person, tired of the same thoughts circling round and round, tired of feeling stuck. But you're not stuck, my friend. You're in the middle of something, and the middle is always the hardest part, isn't it? Because you can't see the other side yet, you can only see where you are, which still hurts, but I can see the other side. I've been there, and I'm telling you, you will get through this. Not around it, not over it, through it. One gentle return at a time. And here's something else I want you to know. You're not broken for struggling with this. You're not failing at something. Some of the most beautiful, wise, compassionate people I've known have struggled with this exact thing. It's part of being human, part of having a heart that can love, that can care, that can be hurt. The path isn't about eliminating all thoughts of this person forever. It's not about reaching some perfect state where you never think of them again. It's about finding peace with the memories, about loosening the grip just enough that you can live your actual life again, fully and freely. So be patient with yourself. Be gentle with your own heart. It's carried something heavy for a long time. It's tired. It needs kindness, not more criticism. When you notice yourself lost in thoughts again, don't make it worse by being angry with yourself. Just notice with tenderness and come back. That's all. Just come back. And know that I'm here with you in this, even though we've never met. I'm an old man who knows this particular suffering rather well, and I'm thinking of you right now with such warmth. Wherever you are, whatever time of day or night you're watching this, I want you to know that you're not alone. You never were. This practice of coming home, this gentle returning, it's a path that countless people have walked before you. You're in very good company, and the path does lead somewhere, not to some perfect pain-free existence, but to a life you can actually live again. A life where you're here, present, available for what's actually happening instead of lost in stories that are already over. So, take a breath. Feel where you are right now. This is your life happening right here. And you can come back to it as many times as you need to. May you find peace with your memories, dear one. May you find freedom from the stories. May you be gentle with yourself as you practice. And may you know, really know, that you're loved and cared for, exactly as you are right now, even in the middle of this struggle. Until we meet again, my friend, be well, be kind to yourself, and keep coming home.